What if your town's mayor was actually a foreign agent? It sounds like something out of a spy thriller, but for the residents of Bamban, Philippines, this became their reality. In this video, we will uncover the truth behind Alice Guo, the woman who fooled an entire municipality and sparked an international incident. From her rise to power to her dramatic fall, we will examine every twist and turn in this real-life espionage story. In June 2022, Alice Guo burst onto the political scene of Bamban, a small municipality in Tarlac Province, Philippines. At just 32 years old, she captivated voters with her youthful energy and promises of economic prosperity. Guo's campaign focused on attracting foreign investment and modernizing the town's infrastructure. Her fluency in both English and Tagalog impressed locals, and her charming demeanor won over even skeptical residents. However, as Guo settled into her role as mayor, inconsistencies in her background began to surface. Official records showed conflicting information about her birthplace. Some documents listed her birthplace as Bamban, while others cited Angeles City, about 30 kilometers away. This discrepancy raised eyebrows among local officials and journalists who started digging deeper into Guo's past. The mystery deepened when questions arose about Guo's citizenship. While she claimed to be a natural-born Filipino citizen, she struggled to provide concrete evidence of her Filipino lineage. When pressed for details about her parents and childhood in the Philippines, Guo's responses were vague and evasive. Alice said her dad was Chinese and claimed he was 70 years old in 2024. But for some reason, Guo's birth certificate listed her father as Filipino, named Angelito Guo. However, in business records, he was registered as a Chinese citizen named Jian Zhongguo, born in 1958. Her mom's identity was just as confusing. Alice stated her mother was a Filipino housemaid named Emilia Leal Guo, but other records suggested her mother might actually have been a Chinese businesswoman named Lin Wenyi, born in 1971. All of this surfaced during the investigation into the Guo family's SIRV application. Records showed that Jian Zhongguo and Lin Wenyi, Alice's alleged parents, were co-owners of multiple businesses with Alice. Reports also indicated they shared the same address in Quezon City. Alice claimed she grew up on a pig farm in Concepcion, Tarlac, and that her family had an embroidery business. However, Senator Win Gatchalian revealed that no such business existed. Residents of Bamban, particularly those who had lived there for decades, found Guo's sudden appearance in town perplexing. Many couldn't recall ever seeing her before her mayoral campaign. One longtime resident, Maria Santos, remarked, "It was as if she appeared out of thin air. Nobody knew her family or remembered her growing up here." As suspicions grew, investigators began to piece together a startling picture. Guo's command of Mandarin Chinese, which she initially downplayed as a skill learned for business purposes, was noted to be exceptionally fluent. Her connections to Chinese businesses, particularly in the gambling sector, raised further questions about her true background and allegiances. With Guo's true identity now in question, attention turned to her activities as mayor. Investigators began to scrutinize her decisions, particularly those related to land deals and business permits. The focus shifted to uncovering potential criminal activities that might be linked to Guo's mysterious past and her alleged connections to Chinese interests. While Guo's identity raised red flags, it was her business connections that truly set off alarm bells. At the heart of the controversy lay a shadowy industry known as pogos. But what exactly are these operations, and how did they entangle a small-town mayor in an international web of crime? Philippine offshore gaming operators, or POGOs, are businesses based in the Philippines that provide online gambling services to foreign markets, primarily catering to Chinese customers. While the Philippine government has regulated POGOs since 2016, these operations have become notorious for their involvement in illicit activities, including cyber scams, unauthorized detention, and human trafficking. In March 2024, authorities conducted a raid on a massive POGO complex in Bamban, Tarlac. The operation resulted in the arrest of 9 individuals involved in scam-related activities and illegal human detention. More shockingly, over 800 victims of human trafficking were rescued from the facility, where they had allegedly endured physical abuse and torture. As investigators combed through the complex, they uncovered a sophisticated network of criminal activities. Love scam scripts were found alongside firearms and mobile phones used for fraudulent transactions. The rescued workers revealed they had been forced to pose as romantic partners, luring unsuspecting victims into sending money through a scheme known as pig butchering, a type of confidence fraud. The scale of the operation was staggering, but what truly stunned the investigators was the trail of evidence leading back to Mayor Alice Guo. Despite her claims of severing ties with the gambling industry upon entering politics, records show that Guo owned half of the land where the POGO facility stood, just behind her office. Further investigation revealed that prior to her election in 2022, Guo had applied for the license of Hongsheng Gaming Technology Incorporated, a POGO company. The Bamban Municipal Council had approved the establishment and operation of Hongsheng in late 2020, though its license was later canceled by the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation by 2022. As authorities dug deeper, they uncovered alleged links between Guo and the shady underworld of gambling centers. Some of these operations were suspected of being vehicles for money laundering, raising questions about the extent of Guo's involvement in these criminal enterprises. The revelation of Guo's connections to the POGO industry shocked the public. What had begun as an investigation into a mayor's mysterious background had now exposed a complex web of illegal activities operating right under the noses of local residents. As the full extent of the POGO operations in Bamban came to light, attention turned to the broader implications of these gambling centers throughout the Philippines. As the POGO scandal unfolded, investigators turned their focus to an even more unsettling question. Who exactly was Alice Guo? The Senate investigation that followed would uncover a web of lies so intricate it threatened to unravel the very fabric of Philippine politics. In July 2024, the Senate Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs convened to probe deeper into Alice Guo's background. At the center of their inquiry were 2 critical questions. What was Guo's true identity, and how did she obtain Filipino citizenship? As Guo took her seat before the committee, the tension in the room was palpable. From the outset, Guo's responses raised more questions than answers. When asked about her place of birth, she initially claimed Bamban, Tarlac. However, when presented with conflicting documents listing Angeles City as her birthplace, Guo stumbled, offering vague explanations about clerical errors. Her evasive demeanor did not go unnoticed by the senators. The inconsistencies only multiplied as the hearing progressed. Guo's educational background came under scrutiny when she failed to provide concrete details about her schooling in the Philippines. Alice said she was homeschooled, but couldn't remember any details about her homeschool provider or provide any standard educational documents. When pressed about her supposed Filipino lineage, Guo's answers became increasingly convoluted, with mentions of adopted parents and lost documentation. The National Bureau of Investigation presented its findings, revealing a startling discovery. Guo's fingerprints, run through international databases, matched those of a Chinese national named Guo Huaping. This revelation sent shockwaves through the Senate chamber. The NBI spokesperson stated, "Our investigation strongly suggests that Alice Guo and Guo Huaping are one and the same person." As the evidence mounted, the true extent of Guo's deception began to emerge. Birth records she had submitted were found to be fabricated, with inconsistencies in dates and locations. Her claims of Filipino ancestry crumbled under scrutiny, as no records of her purported Filipino parents could be located. The final blow came when immigration records were presented, showing that Guo Huaping had entered the Philippines on a tourist visa in 2018, just 4 years before her election as mayor. This timeline contradicted all of Guo's claims about her Filipino upbringing and long-standing ties to Bamban. As the hearing concluded, the implications of Guo's true identity reverberated far beyond the Senate walls. The possibility that a foreign national had not only entered local politics, but risen to a position of power raised alarming questions about national security and the integrity of the Philippine political system. With Guo's true identity exposed, a far more sinister question emerged. Was this elaborate charade orchestrated by forces beyond Philippine borders? The answer would thrust the nation into the heart of a geopolitical storm where the stakes couldn't be higher. The allegations of Alice Guo being a Chinese spy sent shockwaves through the Philippines, a nation already grappling with complex relations with its powerful neighbor. For years, tensions had simmered between the two countries over territorial disputes in the South China Sea, with both claiming sovereignty over resource-rich areas of the contested waterway. In this charged atmosphere, the possibility of a Chinese agent infiltrating local Philippine politics took on grave significance. Experts warned that China had been employing various strategies to expand its influence in Southeast Asia, including alleged attempts to place operatives in positions of power within neighboring governments. The evidence supporting espionage allegations against Guo was mounting. Most damning was the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency's assertion that there was a consensus in the intelligence community. Guo was an agent of influence for China. Philippine officials were quick to sound the alarm about the threat of foreign interference. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. expressed deep concern, stating that the investigation into Guo's case aimed to prevent foreign nationals from holding public office in the Philippines. Senators Risa Hontiveros and Win Gatchalian went further, accusing Guo of being a Chinese asset planted to influence Philippine politics. The potential impact of Guo's actions on national security loomed large. If the allegations were true, how much sensitive information had she accessed as mayor? What decisions had she influenced to benefit Chinese interests? The implications for local governance, regional security, and even national sovereignty were staggering. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Guo's case was more than just a local scandal. As authorities continued to unravel the extent of Guo's alleged espionage, one question remained. How would she respond to those explosive allegations? Just when authorities thought they had Alice Guo cornered, she pulled off a disappearing act worthy of a Hollywood thriller. On July 18, 2024, Alice Guo vanished without a trace, leaving Philippine authorities scrambling. With the walls closing in and her true identity exposed, Guo made the desperate decision to flee. Despite an immigration lookout bulletin order issued against her, and 17 others just weeks earlier, she managed to slip through the cracks of border security. What followed was a high-stakes international manhunt that spanned multiple countries across Southeast Asia. Initial reports placed Guo in Malaysia, then Singapore, before she seemingly disappeared into Indonesia's sprawling archipelago. Conflicting accounts of her escape method only added to the confusion, with some officials claiming she left by air while Guo herself insisted she fled by boat. The search for Guo exposed glaring weaknesses in regional border controls. As she crossed from country to country, authorities found themselves constantly one step behind. Intelligence agencies from multiple nations joined the hunt, sharing information and resources in a rare display of cooperation. Yet, despite their combined efforts, Guo remained frustratingly elusive. By August 26, the Bureau of Immigration believed they had narrowed Guo's location to Jakarta. But even as they closed in, the fugitive mayor continued to evade capture. The Philippine government, growing increasingly desperate, took the extraordinary step of canceling the passports of Guo and her relatives on August 20th. The net began to tighten on August 21st, when Indonesian authorities detained her sister, Sheila Guo, and Cassandra Ong in Batam. Their swift repatriation to the Philippines the following day signaled that Guo's support network was crumbling. Yet, the mastermind herself remained at large. Finally, on September 3rd, after weeks of intense searching, Indonesian police and immigration officials cornered Guo in Tangerang, just outside Jakarta. The arrest marked the end of her dramatic flight across Southeast Asia and set the stage for her return to face justice in the Philippines. 2 days later, on September 5th, Guo was handed over to Philippine authorities, led by Interior and Local Government Security Benhur Abalos. As she was escorted onto a private jet bound for Manila, Guo reportedly cited threats to her security as the reason for her escape. But for the officials who had pursued her across borders, those excuses rang hollow. Alice Guo's return to the Philippines marked the beginning of a legal storm that would test the nation's justice system. The Department of Justice wasted no time, filing qualified human trafficking charges against Guo and her alleged accomplices before the Pasig Regional Trial Court on September 17, 2024. This was just the tip of the iceberg. The National Bureau of Investigation followed suit, charging Guo with a falsification of documents, perjury, and obstruction of justice for fraudulently signing legal papers while in hiding. The legal landscape Guo faced was daunting. Graft charges were transferred to a court in Valenzuela, while the Supreme Court ordered the transfer of non-bailable trafficking cases to the Pasig Regional Trial Court. As Guo's case bounced between jurisdictions, legal experts noted the unprecedented complexity of the proceedings. The potential consequences for Guo were severe. An official from the Anti-Money Laundering Council stated that Alice Guo and her alleged accomplices could face over 1,000 years in prison if convicted on 87 counts of money laundering, involving 7 billion pesos. Each count under the Anti-Money Laundering Act carries a penalty of 7 to 14 years. If found guilty of human trafficking, Guo and her associates could face additional penalties, including life imprisonment and fines of up to 5 million pesos under the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003. The asset freeze imposed in July 2024 had already dealt a significant blow, with authorities seizing properties, bank accounts, and assets estimated at over 6 billion Philippine pesos, roughly $106 million. In a Senate hearing on September 9, 2024, Guo was cited in contempt for perjury and evasive answers. A similar scene played out in the House of Representatives on September 19, where she again faced contempt charges for her vague responses. She now sits in Pasig City Jail, awaiting trial. It's hard to say how this will all play out, but the situation is definitely intense as the legal process moves forward. Legal experts watching the case unfold expressed concern about its far-reaching implications. One prominent attorney remarked, "The Guo case exposes vulnerabilities in our political system that we can no longer ignore." How a foreign national could rise to a position of power raises serious questions about our vetting processes. The implications of a potential foreign agent infiltrating local government have sent shockwaves through the nation's security apparatus. Looking ahead, this case is likely to reshape Philippine politics and national security measures. Stricter vetting processes for political candidates and increased scrutiny of foreign investments are already being discussed in legislative circles. The incident has also strained diplomatic relations with China, adding another layer of complexity to the already tense situation in the South China Sea. As we reflect on this case, one thing becomes clear. In our interconnected world, the line between domestic and international affairs is increasingly blurred. The Alice Guo case serves as a reminder that safeguarding democracy requires constant vigilance, not just against external threats, but also against those who would exploit our systems from within. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.